again, nice to meet you. We have some question about Canada. So
Okay.
we're gonna start with this question. The first is, for Canadians, punctuality is very important, or how important is the punctuality?
Sorry.
About the punctuality of
Okay.
the people that live in Canada, is very important the punctuality, or yes, for you or for the Canadian people?
Yes, punctuality is like really important. Actually, that is one that that is the trait that I actually admired with Canadians when they say that we'll have to start a meeting on this time, then you have to be on the meeting on that time. I mean, either some other people are not present yet, they have to start, for example, okay, let's give them another minute or something, then they have to start the program or the meeting like in a reasonable time, you know.
Yes.
But most of the participants, for example, are in there.
Okay. This is a very good information about the Canadian people. The second question is, what do you think are the strengths of Canada? Um, Speaking of the economy and the political sphere.
Okay, the strength of Canada with regards to, did you say economic and politics?
Yes. What is the strengths in economic and politic sphere?
Okay, so with regards to economy, I would say that Canada, like other nations, are facing some, you know, some drops in their GDP or others. I mean, each provinces have their own you know, have their own challenges, but I would say it remains competitive. Like for example, here in Alberta, known for the oil and gas, you know, production, but because of like political challenges with, you know, inside Canada and also outside Canada. Like for example, the main partner in economy, which is the U.S., they, you know, they oppose to build the oil and gas pipeline. So I mean, it's like really somehow affected by politics, but Canada remains strong with their economy and also with the political system. I quite okay with the political system here in Canada compared to the country I was from because you know, every provinces has their own say how to govern their people. At the same time, there is like a federal government that governs everyone. Yeah, it's okay. Corruption, there is still this and that, you know, like other nations. However, it's not as rampant where the country like Philippines, you know. And what I admired here most in the political system is the politicians are not as, like, I would say, not, they don't give more importance to themselves. For example, like they don't consider themselves as like really a high profile person. I was given a chance to live in a small town and the mayor became my friend. So how would like a politician himself be friend with, you know, a normal people, like you know, the common people, I would say. So it's just like one characteristic of Canadian politics.
Okay. Next, about how many hours is a normal day in Canada? And do you think the salaries are fair and sufficient to supervise or to live in Canada is enough? The salaries? What do you
I
think?
believe, yeah, I believe so. I mean, time to time, the minimum wage in Canada are being assessed depending on like how the inflation rate are, and I would say I would say that the salary per hour, like the minimum wage, is enough. And of course, depends on how you live your life here, you know?
And that it depends also about the towns, no? The salaries are
Uh
different in every town, in every city,
yes, somehow.
and some towns are more expensive, yeah.
I mean, if you are looking for like a major cities, for example, like Vancouver or Toronto itself, the cost of living is like way too high. It's like way too expensive. But I mean, the amenities are in there. You are surrounded with what you need. Um, I believe it is still sufficient because why people remain, living in there, right? So yeah, I believe it's still sufficient. But like I said, I mean, it really depends on how Canadians or whoever lives in the city spend their
Yes,
spend their
your
money.
your lifestyle, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
One
thank you.
actually one Canadian friend told me that when you live in Vancouver, you're actually living your lifestyle. You're paying for your lifestyle.
Okay, thank you. That's my questions. One of my partners are gonna are gonna ask the other
Okay.
questions.
Okay. So what enticed me to live in Canada, what really enjoyed among the other, good things is number one is equality. So whether you are, rich or poor, whether you are straight or you are part of the LGBTQ, whether you are politicians or commoner, you are treated equal, which is like really a big plus to me. And that is what I really enjoyed the most. It's not 100%, but most of the time it is like that is how I feel. I feel accepted. I feel tolerated, and I feel like I am satisfied living my life here in Canada. There is also a balance between work and affordability of the food, and also like going to places, because these things I didn't experience it in the Philippines. Like when you are like working class, then you are focused more of like you are working. However, here, then you will have an opportunity to experience what other people are experiencing. Okay, so there is a difference between like a contract worker and then also as an immigrant. So when you are a contract worker, you are binded with just one type of job, depending on what has been authorized to you when you come to Canada. For example, you are in a what we call like a working visa or work permit, then definitely you are only allowed to work on that certain profession. I started here as temporary foreign worker. So for 2 years, it has given to me. I only allowed on that industry. But once you obtain an open work permit and also you become an immigrant, then your status as to working condition will be different. You can work in any industries Like for example, if you wanted to work to McDonald's, if you wanted to service industry, or if you obtain like in the healthcare industry, then you can do both. Okay, so I don't know if I can answer the question well enough because I myself is not or have not started a business myself, but please know that Canada has full of immigrant. Okay, has full of immigrant. Actually, Canada is made of immigrants. So, and most of the businesses has been built by immigrants. Like for example, Chinese immigrants, they owned like restaurants, convenience stores, and this and that. I mean, most of the time, those small stores, they are owned by immigrants. So reflecting to that situation, reflecting to that scenario, I would say that if you really push to build a business here, even though you're an immigrant, you are able. And the Canadian I mean the government, is actually helping Canadians or the immigrants to build their business. There are supports that they could that they could use to build their own business, and they're being supported.
Okay, it's my turn. So the first question is, how did the first Canadian person you spoke to treat you?
The first Canadian. Okay, so I have my relatives here, right? Like I said before, I mean, Canada is made of like immigrants. So if I will say the first Canadians that spoke to me and how I feel about it, I feel very welcome. I feel like I'm at home. And because they speak my language, and we know and we share the same cultures. But if we go further to outside of my Canadian relative, when say like Caucasian, I would say, because that is how other people view like Canada is made of like Caucasian white people. They're actually accommodating. They're actually nice. They're very kind. When I started here, my English is not as good as I am now, and they still commend me of like speaking the language. They still give you a feedback on how you are doing. They making sure that you are comfortable. They're making it sure that you know you are welcome. They have not given me an insight of like, oh, you are not welcome here or something like that.
What could you tell us from your perspective, the personality of Canadian?
Personality of Canadians, what I would say is like really depends on which Canadians you are pertaining to. Canada is multi-diverse, and like I said, I mean with immigrants and stuff, and then we still have like the First Nations. I cannot speak on behalf of like how I see First Nations or their personality. I can only speak on my experience on how which people I assimilated with, right? So in general, Canadians are very respectful and tolerant, and they're very cheerful, and they are like really wanted to help one another.
Okay, okay, it's all to interview.